I'm not afraid of cops, but fuck 12. Like, you can't be afraid of them, but I mean, most of them do not seem like they're trying to help you. And I mean, you just look in their eyes, and you know they're doing their shit. They're looking at you. They got that ice in their eyes, and you know they're just. I don't think they're trying to help you.
To be honest, man, I respect cops. Like, I know, like, I feel like they're a vital part of, like, society, but the thing is, like, I feel like there's, like, the few bad apples that give a lot of them a bad name, you know, the ones that go out and they're out for blood, you know? But I feel like overall we do need them. Their training should be a little bit better, but, like, they are a really vital part of society.
What about you, though? What do you think about cops?
Never had problems with them. They seem cool, I don't know.
My name is Eric Pishko. I'm a University of New Mexico police officer. I've been here in February. It'll be 10 years that I've been here. I started with the university shortly after I retired from APD. I was with that unit or that department for almost 23 years.
So my name is Eric, and I'm a police officer with the University of New Mexico Police Department. So I went through the training a long time ago. It's been about 25 years. We do continuous training year in. Every year we have to do so much training to keep up with our certifications. The training was intense. It was physical training every morning. We did everything from boxing to hand-to-hand combat, defensive tactics, firearms, a lot of classroom stuff, a lot of homework every night. So it was pretty intense, and it was about 6 months long. Yeah, part of the training is you have to get pepper sprayed. When you get certified to use the taser, you have to be tased, obviously. I'd rather get tased any day, I think, than maced.
You know, to train somebody how to be a cop is one thing, but our main goal, our main objective is we're trying to train people how to make sure they go home at the end of the night. That's our main goal.
When I'm told from other people in other agencies, they look up to our training and think that our training's pretty top notch.
Yeah, you never forget your training, and you always tell, just like I talk to my son pretty regularly. Like I said, he's in the Army, and anytime something comes up, one of the first things I always tell him is just remember your training. You don't just go through the police academy and then they put you on the street and you never train again. Training is something that we continually do, constantly do. 3 or 4 times a year, we do what they call MOE training or biennium training, which is freshers or updates on firearms, defensive tactics, DWI laws, domestic violence laws, any updates to state statutes, anything, stuff like that has to do with anything that's being re-implemented, whether it's state statute-wise or new laws that are coming in, or even just new training in general, whether it's like crisis negotiation type stuff. They call CIT, people that are in crisis. Narcotics training, there's always a new drug on the street that we're trying to familiarize ourselves with and how people act and if it's a possibility that they could be on it. So yeah, we're constantly training and reverting back to our training when it comes to police work. My story is a unique one. When I was in high school, I had a really good friend of mine that had a girlfriend. When they were in high school, they ended up having a child together. And after high school, her dad was a police officer. And so basically after we graduated, he came up to him and he asked him what his next step was as far as how he planned on caring for both her and the baby. So when asked, what he was going to do, he really didn't have an idea. And the dad basically told him, I've got a job for you. You're going to join the police department. And he was scared to death. Neither one of us had ever thought about, or it never had even crossed our mind, so to speak, that we were going to be a police officer. So long story short, he came to me and he said, you're not going to believe what his girlfriend's dad wants him to do. He was terrified to do it, didn't want to do it by himself. So he asked me to do it with him. Apparently I didn't have any plans at that time. So I said, sure, why not? I'll do it with you. I'll get you started and then I can quit and go about my life. And here I am 33 years later, still doing the same thing. Ultimately, I guess I'm glad I did. It's been a great career.
It kind of runs in the family, actually. I have my father was a police officer. 2 of my brothers are police officers. So I think that kind of just inspired me growing up and seeing all that. It just was a way of life, and just to kind of saw everything that went on in with my father doing stuff and being a police officer. I was just around it all the time, so it kind of just made me want to do it. You know, the bad side obviously is taking people to jail. You don't ever want to do that. You don't ever want to see people hurt, injured. You know, it's a big part of our job. We see death, we see injuries, we see people going through their worst times of their lives. But then again, you get to help people. Honestly, just the camaraderie that you build with all the guys that you train with, everyone out of your academy class, because you're going through everything together, and you're, when things are going really bad, everybody else is suffering, and when things are going good, everybody's encouraging everybody else. So just the bond that you build with those 20 or 30 guys in your class, I think that's the best part. It's kind of like a lifelong connection you have with these people.
I truly feel blessed that I've been able to meet all of the people that I've been able to meet, and I've been able to help all the people that I've been able to help, and that I'm still here today talking about it.
Yeah, it's the same as a sports team. Football players, they can go years without seeing each other, and then when they run into each other 5 years down the road, it's like they never skipped a beat. We're all there for each other. We rely on each other. It's like a family. It's just a really tight bond that you create, and it's one of those things where it'll probably never go away.
Like I said, the family, the bond that police officers have, that we have with each other, it's like no other. It really is a family affair, and I really feel like I've met some of my best friends in this job.
Oh, that's so great.
You can get them walking out.
I mean, it is your family, and just because of the different outlook on law enforcement these days and stuff, we have to really rely on each other, because we're the ones that make sure that we're safe at the end of the day and go home at the end of the day. It's a fun job. It is. It really is. Mostly, because you get to help people, you get to build really good connections with people. I have a lot of different views on that, a couple different views. I would like to see it in a sense, because I think things would get out of control really quick, and the people that ask for it, for the police to be defunded, would quickly be begging for the police to come back and be funded. Honestly, because I just see how certain events throughout the city that happen where they don't want police officers there, how quickly those get out of control. So I think everyone that wants the police defunded, they would become victims sooner than later, and would be I don't want to say they'd be sorry for what they wished for, but in a way they would be. So it's not a good idea, I don't think. But if it happened, I would sit back and just watch it unfold, because nothing good would come of it.
This right now, the way that the country is right now, the division that's in the country right now, is something that I've never seen before, and I've been doing this job for 33 years, mind you. I'm not sure what that's all about. I guess everybody has their own opinion of what they think needs to happen or what wants to happen. But what I would say is that before you just, you base your decisions on emotion and what you're seeing on TV and the news and the media and stuff like that, because honestly, that's not the only thing that's out there. That's not, to me, that's all half truth.
So I think it has to do with lack of education. I think media and social media plays into it a lot.
What I have the biggest problem is that when people take an isolated incident, like what happened in Minnesota specifically, and they group every single police officer in this country in that same incident. What one incident doesn't define what every officer is, and it doesn't define how every police department needs to be run. So when they say defund the police, all I can say is be careful what you wish for.
I think that's one of the big problems, is people don't go off of what their actual experiences are. They're going off of what they hear and read and see, and not what they actually experience.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Man, there's so many. About 3 years ago, at the Student Union building, there was an employee that actually had a heart attack. And me and my partner, we were pretty close when it happened. So we were able to perform CPR and put the AED shocker on him, keep him going basically until rescue and the ambulance arrived, and he was transported to the hospital, and he actually pulled through and made it. Stuff like that. That's probably the best part of the job right there. That makes it all kind of worth it.
I'm a firm believer in faith. I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. and I'm also a firm believer that God has a plan for everything and everybody. And apparently that was the reason why I was there at that time, and that possibly was something that was put out for me, whether it was a test or whether it was just, that person is the one that I needed to interact with that day to make a difference in that person's life. I want to say and I want to believe that I was confident that no matter what I did, I was going to succeed at doing it. But I can definitely say that being a police officer has definitely made me what I am today. So I've been doing this for more than half of my life. If it wasn't in my blood when I was a 17, 18-year-old kid, it's definitely in my blood now. And it's definitely in the blood of my children as well. You got to remember that a lot of the decisions we make and a lot of stuff like that we make is based on split-second decisions. I've been fortunate throughout my career where I've never had to, never been shot, and I've never had to shoot anybody. Thank God, for that. But that's not the only thing what can be considered stressful in a police officer's life. I remember one specific call. This was when I was probably on the job for maybe 5 or 6 years. This was years ago. This was in the early 90s. I remember I got dispatched to a house. This one still kind of bothers me to this day. The call was to make contact with a female who was going to be waiting for us at a nearby convenience store in a van with California license plates. And she wanted to go to a house so that she could visit her daughter that she had never seen, and the daughter was 6 years old at the time. Okay, and I thought, well, that's kind of odd that she wants us to go with her to have contact with her daughter. Okay, so we go over there and we're talking to this gal, and it turns out she had been living in California with some guy. When she had the baby 6 years ago, she basically gave the baby, she gave up all of her rights to this baby to, I guess they were her friends, I don't even, at the time, who ended up taking in this child as godparents, okay? These godparents had been in the process of trying to legally adopt this child over this 6-year period, but had been fighting a legal battle the entire time and had not been able to get permanent custody of this child because of the way the legal system works in New Mexico. It's a shit show. It's a joke. It really is. Anyway, that's another thing. So this gal came in from California because she wanted to take custody of the 6-year-old and take it back to California for no other reason than she had been applying for welfare in California. And the way welfare worked in California was the more children you had, the more money you got. And so on her application, she had listed this child down as a child that she had given birth to. And when the caseworker came out to interview her and to talk to her, basically told her that they were not going to give her money for this child unless they could physically see this child. And so she made a trip all the way out from California here to take this child, to take it back to California so that she could gain the unemployment benefits for having this particular child. Never taking into an account the fact that this child had never seen her, this child did not know her, never met her. To this child, this 6-year-old, mom and dad were the godparents who had been taking care of her since her birth. And part of the problem with that I had with that is that we spent hours calling DAs, calling CYFD, calling caseworkers, trying to do something to put a stop to this. We were told that we could not do that because she was the biological mother of this child, that we had to let her take this child. And it was at that point that I realized that maybe I was going to have a hard time with this job because I didn't let it go. I did something that I probably shouldn't have done. Well, looking back on it, I'm 100% glad that I did do it, but I ended up getting in some trouble for it. But I put that child in state's custody for the next 48 hours so that a caseworker could investigate this a little bit more. And I got in trouble for not allowing the child to go with the parent, but the parent ended up driving back to California and disregarded the welfare aspect of it in California and was never heard of again. But their problem with me was that I denied this child, or this mother, her biological child. I just didn't feel it was right. So when you talk about making decisions, was it the right decision? In my opinion, yes. But in the eyes of the law, was it the right decision? I don't know. You tell me. You know what I'm saying? So those are the kind of things that you're faced with. As a police officer, you have to realize that you're not just a police officer. You're a caseworker. You're a judge. You're a psychiatrist. You're a marriage counselor. You're an alcohol counselor. You're a narcotics counselor. You know, you have to deal with children. You have to deal with adults. You have to deal with geriatrics. You have to deal with, you deal with everything. Anytime somebody has a problem with something, who do they call? And it doesn't matter what the problem is, from being locked out of your car to having a car accident to being shot, stabbed, robbed. Who do people call?